So let's see. Yes. So once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Happy Friday. Uh, as I said before, this call is being recorded, and we will place our recording on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. Okay. So with that, um, let's talk about our topic of discussions today. This is about um, cross-region Azure Load Balancer. Here is a quick agenda. We are going to talk about different Azure load balancing options, what is available as just to set the stage, and then we're going to talk about a few minutes on how you can pick what option is best for us, best for your application, and then we're going to go talk about the cross-region load balancer, do a quick demo, and Q&A. So please feel free to ask if you have any questions. So let's start. So first of all, what is a load balancer? Load balancers are used to distribute load across compute resources. This is to avoid, I'm sure everybody knows about it, but this is to avoid any disruptions, like if one of the resource goes down, you have other compute resources, which can serve your request. This is an age-old uh, service that has been used to provide high availability. Okay. Um, so moving forward, what are the different load balancing options? If we want to divide it based on how they do load balancing, there are pretty much three load balancing options. One is the network layer, which is, if you are not familiar what I mean by network layer, I'm talking about OSI layer. Network layer is a layer 4. So this is basically what load balancing at the network layer, which is layer 4, TCP, UDP, and that those load balancer are normally uh, you know uh, very performance sensitive, and they are they provide you lower latency. On the other hand, if you look at the DNS space, this is uh, load balancing at the domain level. Okay, uh, they can do global load balancing, but at the same time they are prone to higher latency because of DNS caching and all that stuff. So that's you have to be aware of. And then you have the application layer load balancing, which is basically um, at the HTTP and HTTPS layer. That's where you can do certain interesting stuff like SSL termination and things like that. So if we look at, okay, these are different Azure load balancing options that Azure provides in those categories. Load balancer is your network layer load balancer, provide TCP, UDP, and you can have it both internal, external, and with the cross region, you can have it both at the region level and global level, which is cross regions. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about shortly. On the other side, you have the application gateway, which is a layer 7 load balancer. And this is, once again, it's region specific. You can only have it in a certain, basically, in a virtual network, and it serves that particular region. As we move to front door and traffic manager, these both are global load balancer. Front door is a layer 7 load balancer, which does the load balancing at the edge. And it does um, have the firewall capability, which is add on to it. But if you're just talking about the load balancing aspect, it does at the HTTP, HTTPS level. Okay. And then traffic manager, that's our DNS based load balancer. provide you, and both of these provide you different load balancing option where you have weight load balancing, you have proximity based load balancing, like if the requests are coming in from a certain region, it will send the request to the resources in that particular region. So these are some of the things that you have to be aware of. By the way, I have provided this list. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but this is just as a reference in this slide that if you're looking into it, you can look into it and see what are different options. You have load balancer, application gateway, you know, things like that, um, and traffic manager, front door. And how do you choose? So I have a link to an article in the end where it kind of talks about how you can choose it. So, for example, if and in Azure Portal, that is the support is there as well, where you can pick how you can choose a load balancer, where it will ask you certain questions. For example, if you are using HTTPS, then definitely you want to go with the layer 4 load balancer. That's where the choice becomes between a application gateway and or front door. That's the direction. Is it public? Is it private? Is it so if it is, um, are you doing a load balancing? What is the latency you can expect? Things like that. So it has a very detailed kind of what we call a case by case decision tree, I should say, there where you can go in and pick the right, or at least it can guide you to that direction. And in the end, you can make a decision what direction you want to need to go. And let me just share this here. Yeah, so basically, this is what I'm referring to. This is the decision tree. So as you can see, it takes you to this entire thing and gives you the information where or what what particular direction you want to go into. So very useful. So this is basically that's something you can take advantage.
We can't see that, I don't think.
Really? Uh, is it, can anybody see my screen or?
Yeah, I see it.
I do too.
I can see it.
Yeah, man. Sometime what happens is you may have to kind of a disconnect and join back. I'm sorry, this is sometimes Teams is like does that. So try that. Otherwise, anyways, all these links are there, so you will not miss much. Okay, doke. So let's go back quickly to the slide deck for a second, and let's talk about what is the cross-region load balancer. It is a load balancer as a service which provides you the ability to do go across regions. Okay, so what you can do is you can have create the load balancer. Remember, you will create it in one region, and we will talk about it. There is a home region concept and participating region concept, and we will discuss it in a second. But basically, you will create it one of those regions, and then you will as its backend pool, just like a load balancer has backend pool of virtual machine or IP addresses, it has a backend pool of other load balancers. So you have regional load balancer, you have global load balancer, its backend pool has regional load balancer, and that's how it will start kind of sending requests to them. So distribute load across them. Okay, it uses a latency based algorithm. So basically, it will forward the request where it sees the least latency. So, for example, if you up and in the demo, you will see we have set up a global load balancer with loads in South Central and a regional load balancer in West Europe. And you will see how it routes the request based on where the uh, based on this latency optimized method. Okay. One key thing is it will preserve the request IP. you will know where this request actually came from. So these are some of the things that this does. So this is how it is configured. You have your global load balancer at the top, then you have regional load balancer where you have regional rules, whatever you have, their backend pools. But just keep in mind, global load balancer has regional load balancer in its pool. So that's how it sends a request to them. Kind of another diagram that um, shows you like you have in three regions, and that's how you are distributing requests. Um, okay, what I'm gonna, before I show you the demo, I just wanna talk about a few minutes on region definition. So there are two types of region. One is the home region. That's where Azure Load Balancer is available, or where you can go and create it. So um, you will create it in Central US or East US 2 or West Europe. So that's where you go in and you can create the global load balancer. Just keep in mind wherever you create it doesn't matter. It will be able to load balance across different region. Okay, participant what it does is whenever it gets a request, it will send it to its the closest participating region. What that means is if your regional load balancer, and just keep in mind, I'm now talking about regional load balancer, which is sitting behind the global load balancer in its backend pool. If they are in one of those regions, it will go there. Otherwise, it will go to one of those regions and then go to your regional load balance. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So that's how it works. Another question that has come up is, let's say that one of those region goes down. There's an outage there. So what they have done is they have done a good job separating the routing metadata from the actual kind of the management stuff. And what that means is your routing will still work. So your routing, what you have set up with global load balancer will still work. So let's say you create something, a global load balancer in West US, something happened in West US, that region is not available, your routing will still work. So basically, global load balancer will still work. The only thing you will not be able to do is make any changes to the global load balancer while there is an outage in that entire region. So that's something like that happens. Okay, I hope everybody is clear about it. Any questions? Okay, so let's create a global load balancer. So first of all, I lay off the land of my infrastructure. I have these two load balancer, NZSCLB and NZWELB. These are both regional load balancer. One is in SCLB in South Central region. WELB is in Western Europe, as you can see on the right-hand side. So they are both load balancing machines that are sitting in that particular region. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a load balancer. So let's start with that. Okay, we go in here and then we say we want to create a load balancer and we are going to call it a and let's say we're going to create it in what was the regions which is available. We're going to create it in West US. Okay, and that's the option you select. You select public, standard, and then this is a new option. By the way, just keep in mind, this is in public preview right now. So just make sure you're aware of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it IP3. Um, all the options are selected. Let's review and create and click on the create button. It will take a few seconds to create it, and then we will be able to assign resources to its backend pool and things like that. Okay, and so while it is doing that, any questions that you have? Okay, oh, very fast. It's got created, so let's close this here and let's go into the front end IP configuration. This is its front end. Currently, there are no rules. So first of all, I'm gonna do a backend pool. I'm gonna say, okay, let me add, I'm gonna name it, and then I'm gonna add the load balancer. First of all, I'm gonna get the South Central region load balancer. It has a front end IP that's there. Then I'm gonna go in and then add a WELB, and that's pretty much it. Now I have added the backend pool. The only thing remain is I just need to add the rules. Okay, and that's where I want there is a gotcha that you need to be aware of. Okay, so it's gonna ask me. I cannot create the rule because a probe is not there. Uh, it is in preview. As you can see, there is no menu item for probe. So what you will have is you have to create this probe through CLI at the moment. Once I think they will take care of this issue in a preview, then we should be fine. So what we are doing is we are just using CLI to create the probe. So I'm just going to go in here. I am going to open a CLI prompt. I hope everybody can see that. And the only thing I'm doing is I am creating the, did I not copy that? Okay, I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go into this screen and okay, I think this shell is dead. So let me open a new shell. Come on. Give it a second. Okay, this shell is back. Let me paste it and let's run this thing. And it will take a second and then you will have the um, good. So we have created the probe now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our backend tools. And once we come back to the load balancing rule and click here, it doesn't ask us to create a probe because a probe is already there. So we are going to call it GLB3 rule. And as you can see, the pool is there, the probe is automatically picked up, and that's pretty much it. And we're going to say, okay, so now it has set up. It will take a second to set this thing up, and then we should be good to go. Our global load balancer will start working at that moment. Okay, it has created it. Let's go to overview. Let's copy this IP address. Let's paste it here, and I'm just gonna copy this from here. And I'm going to go in here and paste it. So I am in South Central. Let's see what it does. Let me just close it and create it back up. Okay, as you can see, it is here, NZGLB VMSC. So this is, it is picking up the South Central region request. Okay, so this is as we thought, it is picking the closest region. Since I have created the other load balancer in Western Europe, so let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I have a VM that I am running in Western Europe. So this is the virtual machine. I am running this VM in Western Europe, and I'm going to open the browser. I'm going to just paste the link here. And as you can see, this is now picking up the host from Western Europe, which is behind that Western Europe regional load balancer. Okay, so that's so let's do one thing. So let's what we're gonna do is we are going to kind of force some error. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to shut down the South Central Region VM. Okay, so I go in here and I will say stop this virtual machine. Okay, so it is stopping it. It will take a second. And by the way, this load balancer is constantly pinging this VM for health. So once that VM is stopped, okay, stop the right one, or give me 1 second. Let me just stop it again. Let me refresh it. I did not stop the right VM, so do this again. Okay, give it a second, and once that VM is stopped, when we go in, it's gonna send us to Western Europe. Okay, so now that VM is deallocated, so let's go hit this page one more time. Remember, when we hit this load balancer, it was going to South Central. So let's try to hit it again. Let's see what happens. Uh, that's the thing. Everything kind of moves slow in a demo. So give it a second. Come on. I think. Give it a second.
Naveed, while you're waiting for that to come up, can you
Uh-huh.
have different SKUs as the regional load balancers with the single one in front of it, or do they all have to be the same
Standard?
SKU?
Yeah, they all should be standard.
Okay.
Yeah, they all should be standard. They cannot be. And right now, I mean, and let's, while this is coming back, that's interesting. Um, and it was, everything was working fine, but suddenly, the demo. Okay, any case, let's go back to our slide deck. I just want to talk about. So this is about region. Just keep that definition in mind. What is a home region where you can create it, participating region where your request, where basically if you have your, where it will forward the request first, or will where the request will go through if based on your regional load balancers. Okay, so if they are in this region on the participating side, that's all well and good. Otherwise, your request will first go there and then it will go into the um, actual region where you're hosting. So there are a few limitations that you have to keep in mind. First of all, if you have a load balancer that you are using as an ingress controller, to me, this is very important. As a for AKS, you cannot, I mean, this will not work at the moment. So if you have a load balancer that is that you are using as an ingress controller on the ingress side for an AKS cluster, you try to add it to the pool for this global load balancer, this will not work. Okay, so this is something important. Um, you cannot have any custom health probe. Default health probe is configured that will ping your regional load balancer. So there is no custom that you can do at the moment. Okay, you cannot have private or internal load balancer. Only external load balancers are supported at the moment, folks. So that's pretty much it. Come on, buddy.
So,
So
Ravi, just like AKS, can you comment on, like other deployments, like if you have an APIM instance in the background or an app service or
yeah,
async?
that should not be an issue. So if you, oh, sorry, let me take it back. It can right now, you can only have load balancers in the backend pool. Only load balancer. So
Mhm.
basically, if you, and
So yeah,
even on that, the restriction is not the AKS load balancer, which is an ingress controller. Okay?
yeah, I mean, yeah, so yeah, I mean, I know it's very early, but do you know what are the types of backend applications, you can put behind that, like the second level of load balancers?
That, as I said, everything is okay except at the moment, except AKS.
Okay.
So you can have a load balancer, and that is sitting in front of, let's say, an APIM. That should work. I haven't tested it, but that there is no, I didn't see any documentation which says that it shouldn't work. But yeah, so that should not be an issue. Let's see if I can go in here. Uh, yeah. So for some reason, over there, I'm not sure why it is not routing the request right. Let's try one more time. I really want this demo to work. In the meantime, any other questions? Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I will give everybody 1 minute back, and thank you for joining, and hope to see everyone in a week in another Azure Powerland session. So have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Naveen.